Okay, greetings one and all, and welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, we'll be considering the diagram of the nephron. The diagram of the nephron. Okay, so why is this important? Why is it important that we consider the diagram of a nephron? Well, if we consider a biology past paper, so this is a biology past paper, this is paper 3. So this is the BGCSE examination. This is biology. This is paper 3, and this is the 2019 paper. Now, if we consider this paper and we look at question number 2 on this paper, we find a diagram of a nephron and questions based on this diagram. Now, in this lesson, we will not be considering the questions for this particular, the questions associated with this diagram, but it's good to know that on paper 3 of a BGCSE past paper, a diagram of a nephron came. And so that means that you need to be prepared with understanding how to label a nephron so that when it's time to answer these questions, you could understand what the label parts represent. Okay, so let's consider the diagram of a nephron. So let's zoom it all in. And so it says the diagram shows a nephron, which is a kidney tubule. And we want to label this diagram, okay? And so the question is, what is the structure labeled P? What is the name of that? The name of that is the afferent arteriole. The afferent arteriole. So P is this tube here is the afferent arteriole. The afferent arteriole. Okay, so P, the label structure P, this tube here is the afferent arteriole. Now, what is this structure here? This structure here that's inside this capsule. All right, what's the name of the structure? The structure labeled U. But the structure labeled U is called the glomerulus. All right, the glomerulus. Okay, so this is the afferent arteriole, and this is the glomerulus. That's the structure labeled U. How about this structure? The structure labeled Q. What is that? Well, that is the Bowman's capsule. The Bowman's capsule. Now, the structure labeled T, what is that? That is the proximal convoluted tubule. That's the proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, that's the structure labeled T. Now, while we're here, they didn't ask us to label it, right? But we have this part is the proximal convoluted tubule, the proximal convoluted tubule. But they didn't ask us to label it, but let's label it one time on the other side, right? After we go around the loop, there is this structure, right? It's not the proximal convoluted tubule. It's also a convoluted tubule, but it's not the proximal convoluted tubule. We call it the distal convoluted tubule, okay? Okay, so let's consider the structure labeled S. Well, the structure labeled S, that is called Henle's loop. Henle's loop. Now, it also goes by the name loop of Henle. So either one of these could work. You could put Henle's loop or loop of Henle. Now, if we want to be really specific, this is actually the descending limb of the loop of Henle. Okay, so this is the descending limb of the loop of Henle. Now, it's not, they didn't ask us to label it, right? Or it's not a labeled structure, right? But what is this side? So this is the descending limb of the loop of Henle. Now, this labeled structure is the ascending limb of the loop of Henle. Okay, moving right along. What is the structure labeled R? Well, that is the collecting duct. That's the collecting duct. So there you have it. That's the labeled diagram of the nephron. Now let's consider another label diagram of a nephron so that you can become familiar with the parts and how the diagram can be oriented and what's not. Okay, so forgive me for it being blurry, but I think besides it being blurry, this is a very good diagram. So it's showing us the different parts of a nephron. So this one here is the afferent arteriole, like we saw before. So this one goes in. The one that is here That's the efferent arteriole, okay? But the one that goes inside our diagram, like we saw, is the afferent arteriole, okay? So we have the afferent arteriole right here, okay, this one, and then the next one is the efferent arteriole. Now this structure in here, this entity in here that's inside this capsule is called the glomerulus, okay, and this structure here is the Bowman's capsule, okay. Now you see these arrows, right? The arrows is showing us the direction of filtrate, okay, so that's what the arrows is showing us, the direction of the filtrate. Now this one right here is called the proximal convoluted tubule, okay. Here we have Henle's loop, okay. And if we go here, this is the distal convoluted tubule, and then we have the collecting duct. So this is different parts of a nephron. Another diagram here, just to, this is very good to see different diagrams so you can get oriented and you could get a sense of what's happening and how different diagrams look, and just as a good way to study and a good way to see different things, and so that you can get more and more, so it can be deeper impressed upon your minds, the structure, the label structures of the nephron. So again, this is the afferent arteriole, this is the efferent arteriole, this structure in here is the glomerulus, this here is the Bowman's capsule, okay, and we have the arrow showing us the direction of the filtrate. This is the proximal convoluted tubule, okay, this is Henle's loop, okay, and we have the collecting duct, okay. And finally, our next diagram, okay, this one is in color, okay, and this is showing you where the structure comes from. It comes from our kidneys. If we zoom in into our kidneys, okay, um, this is what this diagram is showing, a zoomed in image of this portion of the kidney. So here we have this renal artery, okay, so we have a renal artery represented in red, and that's going to carry oxygenated blood because inside here these structures need oxygen, okay. And so renal artery, so this is a renal artery. Now connected to the renal artery is going to be our afferent arteriole, okay, connected to the renal artery is the afferent arteriole, okay. And this structure here is the glomerulus, like we see, okay, this is the glomerulus, and this one right here is the efferent arteriole, okay. Now this here that's holding that structure, that ball-like structure, is the Bowman's capsule, okay. And if we come down here, this is the PCT, or the proximal convoluted tubule, okay. And we go down and we have the loop of Henle. This is specific, in particular, this is the descending limb of the loop of Henle, okay. And this one is the ascending limb of the loop of Henle. And we go, and this part is the distal convoluted tubule, the DCT. And coming down here, this is the collecting duct, okay. And so that is the diagram of a nephron. Okay, so now for you, the assignment for you is to consider this diagram. So this is a diagram of a nephron. Now, as you can see, this is unlabeled. Okay, so now these ones right here, these are not in the correct position, all right? But they're giving you the words to use to fill in for these correct, to fill in for these the parts that they have, the parts that they have unlabeled, the parts that they are pointing to. Okay, so we have ascending limb of the loop of Henle. So which structure, where on this diagram would we find the ascending loop of Henle? Is it here? 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 Where is the ascending loop of Henle? How about the renal vein? Where is the renal vein? Okay, is it here? Is it here? Is it here? How about the distal convoluted tubule? Where is that? Okay, is that here? Is that here? Is that here? Where is that? Okay, so you're going to use these words, okay, use these words to fill out or to label, okay, this diagram. So draw this diagram, and I want you to label, correctly the diagram. So draw it out, label it correctly, and send a picture send a picture to me of this diagram that you label, that you draw and label correctly. Again, these are not in the correct order or not in the correct position. They are giving you the words. You're going to use the arrows that they give you and everything, and the words that they give you to accurately represent or to accurately point to the label structure of the nephron. Hopefully this video was helpful, and I'll see you in a next video.